Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It is a beautiful Tuesday morning. Today is October 14th, 2025. We get together most weekday mornings at 8 o'clock Central. A little bit of a busy screen here, my shared screen, but let's go ahead and move forward with uh, the middle box. So 501 South Pacific is our organization. We're a 501c3. We'll talk about that in a moment. Our website is 509pacific.org. And so if you're interested in our resources or even becoming a reseller of what we're talking about today, the ESP, that's where you would go. The Entrepreneur Starter Pack is our topic today. We believe that we've assembled a valuable, legal, ethical, and effective way to help entrepreneurs solve their number one problem, which is access to capital. So we're going to spend more time about that, but talking about that today. But the entrepreneurstarterpack.com, which is also referenced in the orange box here in the flyer, is where an individual can go to access the program, and they could also access it through any of our resellers or branch offices. We have a text support line just for text, 903-347-8042. We put our past trainings up on YouTube so you can view past trainings. Like yesterday, we took a deep dive into how to become a reseller, step-by-steps, free resources, and so forth. So that would be a reason you might want to go to the YouTube channel. And if you just need to schedule a call with us, you can do that as well. Again, from an introductory perspective, we are a nonprofit, a legitimate, recognized 501c3. We have applied for and received a grant. The grant has three mandates, first of which is improving financial literacy. And this is incredibly important. Most people don't know what you know. Most people that are either in small business operations or want to often are challenged. They're constrained by not having the money they need to start to grow to reach their potential. And instead of scams or schemes or anything that's too good to be true, we can just use basic business finance principles and help anyone access capital. And we've packaged that in what we call the ESP. We'll be talking about that today. But to the extent that you can help us build financial literacy in your community, in your sphere of influence, that's very much needed. Secondly, we give away shelf corps. If we're pursuing business funding, we need to have a fundable business. And we found through some painful experiences that it's typically easier just to provide an entrepreneur a clean shelf corp than it is trying to take their current entity and auditing it and often needing to clean it up. So the grant provides the free shelf corps. And then the goal then is to take that knowledge, that shelf corp and associated resources and get capital. So we'll talk about how that happens very practically today. So our agenda is to take a deep dive into the Entrepreneur Starter Pack. We call it ESP for short. So on the left-hand side, so we're going to talk about how we solve the problem access to capital. So we can get that out of the way so it's a little less busy. So now we're down to two sides of the screen. This is the landing page. So those of you that are resellers or branch offices, you all should have a landing page now. We talked about how to get that yesterday. If anyone's interested in coming direct, they can go to entrepreneurstarterpack.com, and this is the page that will come up. So it has kind of a nifty little graphic here, just kind of playing off the concept of what does a small business owner need to get started. Here we make reference to how we help them get a company car. This is a Porsche 911 key fob and then some cash. Of course, there's a lot more with the ESP, but just from a promotional perspective, that's the image at the top. So we described the Entrepreneur Starter Pack provides exactly what is needed for entrepreneurs looking to launch a new business, including a compliant shelf corp. So that's the first deliverable. we're providing that free shelf corp that we made reference to earlier. If we want business funding, we must have a fundable business, and that starts with having an entity. And so that shelf corp will be, of course, in the name of the client, of the grant participant. It's clean, there's no issues with it, no obligations. And secondly, we provide 20,000 of QuickCash. We built that into the ESP because it serves as two purposes. It serves as collateral, so the business has a strong balance sheet right away. And then secondly, of course, having the ability to have working capital is important. We build out a business plan. So the business plan is delivered normally the whole set of deliverables is normally delivered in about 7 days from the time that a client enrolls. The business plan comes ready to go. It's well written, well thought out. But with that being said, we can make changes as the grant participant wants. The business plan is set up under the industry code for management consulting, which is also stated over here if you notice. SIC code 8742. We'll get over to the right side in a moment. So it's a business plan that's ready to go. Management consulting is a good industry to build this off of because A, pretty much anyone can do it, and B, it is viewed favorably by most lenders. It's a lower risk industry. However, if the grant participant wants us to change that business plan up, making minor or major changes, we can do as they wish. The ESP also comes with the full financials, and that's important because we know lenders are going to ask for that. If we need to make changes or edits, just like we can to the business plan, we can work with the grant participant and make changes to the financials as needed. We will project the financials out 36 months, 3 years, and that's typically what lenders will want to see. It includes the collateral. Not all loans, not all types of funding, not all lenders require collateral for approval, but many do. So we want to provide the collateral. And then if the client, so essentially there's 2 phases to our implementation. That's important to understand. So the ESP is what we'd consider phase 1. Participant enroll. So again, they go to entrepreneurstarterpack.com. It's going to bring up this screen. They're going to fill out this, and then bam, up on their screen. And then through follow-up text, they're going to receive this flyer, which we'll go through in a moment. Obviously, it has more content, and then the ability to enroll in ESP. So what we're talking about through this point is what's included, and we'll give you more details, but in summary, this is what's included with the ESP phase 1. Then if the client wishes for us to assist them in using that shelf corp to get funding, that's where we go into phase 2. With phase 2, if they want us to, which 99.9% of the clients do, we'll be able to get them funding offers immediately upon delivering the shelf corp deliverables. So it's about 7 days to get this to them. We give them the option to move into phase 2, the funding phase. If they want our assistance with that, we typically can have offers for them within 24 hours. And for the first tranche, the first round of funding, typically that'll be in their bank account within a week from then, or let's just say 2 weeks from the initial enrollment. When we're doing the larger capital raise, it usually is 2 tranches, 2 rounds of funding. The first of which is, as I just described, getting that initial app in, no hard inquiries, get offers to the grant participant. They can accept the offers that they want. Then we build out the loan package, and then we can go for a larger capital raise. Part of building out the loan package is adding trade lines. Having a business entity that has trade lines is very helpful in qualifying for large capital raises. So with that being said, we can add different types of trade lines, one of which that we prefer, we don't require, but prefer to add is a company automobile. I know that we have several company automobiles, and I suspect of the 646 of you that's on today, most of you have at least one company automobile. A company automobile is not required for the model to work, but it is one of the largest trade lines that we can add to a company. It's usable, it's a real car, you get to drive, you get to enjoy it. 100% tax deductible in most cases. If you buy a vehicle that qualifies for Section 179 of the IRS tax code, you can even do accelerated depreciation. But there's other types of trade lines too, lines of credit, business credit cards, what have you. But normally we'll add 4 trade lines as well as building out the loan package so they qualify. So again, the getting started point is very easy. If you're someone looking for capital, you go to entrepreneurstarterpack.com. It'll bring up this screen. You fill out 4 pieces of information, check the box, hit request. If you're a reseller or a branch office, you should have your own landing page, and you will just simply drive people to it. And we covered the details of that yesterday. So that's the front end. Does anyone have questions on the front end before we get into more of a detailed discussion? Mr. Russell says he doesn't have his landing page. So that's fine. If anyone doesn't have these resources that we're talking about, then you'll go to, let me pull this back over. Let me bring this back over. So if anyone's missing these resources, as we discussed in detail yesterday, go to 509pacific.org, scroll to the bottom of the page, and then click the link. It'll be a form that looks similar to this, but it's not looking at you as a client, but you getting set up as a reseller. And then with that, everyone gets free landing page, free leads, and so forth. But that was discussed yesterday, so I don't want to get too far off track. Let's see. Julian's asking about real estate. So yes, it is common. So another type of trade line that we can add is real estate. So again, we've gone through all these steps. We validated that works. We're an example. And if you're one of our resellers, we would encourage you to do it as well. You don't have to, but if you have gone through a capital raise, you have funded commercial real estate, you have one or more company vehicles, obviously that's going to make your testimony that much stronger. So yes, Julian, that is part of the model. And then from a client's perspective, if they're needing real estate, that's fine. If it's just a lease they need, we can get working capital, or if they're wanting to actually purchase real estate. So there we have that. Let's go ahead and flip over to the flyer. We'll make this a bit bigger. So all of you that are resellers, you should have this. If not, again, follow the instructions I just gave. But this flyer is a nice, concise overview of what the participant receives. So I know when we put the contract packets together, whether it be for clients coming to us directly or for those that are going through our resellers, this flyer is the first page. Now, if you have the packet that we provide for resellers and branch offices, there'll be different content in the orange box because this refers back to us. But let's go ahead and go through the flyer. The goal is to use this structured written document to make sure we all understand what the ESP is, what it does, who it's for, why it works. And that's important. If you're someone looking for capital, then you can make an educated decision if this is a resource that can help you solve that problem. And then secondly, if you're a reseller, this is what you should know. All right, so the ESP, the Entrepreneur Starter Pack, and this is just a byline here. Shelf Corp, 20,000 quick cash, 100,000 in guaranteed funding. So who should purchase the ESP? Well, again, we want to establish, because this is a common sense statement, but a lot of people want to ignore it. If you want business funding, we need to have a fundable business. So there's lots of banks, lots of credit unions, lots of alternative lenders in brick and mortar and online. There's no shortage of funding. The problem is most entrepreneurs do not have a fundable business. That's what you and I fix. So, with that being said, the ESP provides exactly what's needed for entrepreneurs looking to launch a new business, including a compliant shelf corp, which we've talked about, but we'll go through the deliverables a bit more in detail in a moment, the 20,000 of QuickCash, and then optional assistance. So again, keep in mind phase one, phase two. Phase one is simply accomplished in 7 days or less, getting the shelf corp to the client as well as the QuickCash. And then phase two is if they want to move forward in going through the capital raise process. There's no upfront cost for phase two. There is a refundable deposit for phase two, but it's paid out of the first tranche. This was developed with the input of former business bankers, SBDC, SBA advisors, SCORE mentors. The ESP is the fastest and easiest option to get started and positioned for funding. And this is a true statement. I think those of you that are looking to help others, to educate, it's fine to teach what it takes to have a fundable business, but most people want your help to execute that knowledge to be able to get the funding. And I don't know that you can find a more affordable or a better packaged approach. I see that Chris asked, and Chris brings up a good point. How much is the ESP? I don't know, because each of our resellers, each of our branch offices are able to price it as they would like to. So the pricing will vary based upon how the client accesses. I can state that if they come to us directly, they come to entrepreneurstarterpack.com, then it's $999.99 and should be the entire out-of-pocket cost that they will need to go through the entire two-phase process. However, many of our resellers and branch offices mark up the front end, the processing fee. They have the ability to mark it up a little or a lot. Chris, for example, marks it up to 5,000. Some of you don't do more, some do less. But in terms of the cost, once the client has paid whatever that price is, depending upon how they're accessing the ESP, the process is designed that that's their entire out-of-pocket. We should be able to take the average typical client, take them through the entire process to raise $100,000, $500,000, $1 million, and they should theoretically not have to come up with anything else out of pocket other than that initial processing fee. So that's very affordable. Again, how much the processing fee is depends upon the reseller or branch office. If they come to us directly, then it's less than $1,000. Carla's asking, well, what happens if they don't have $1,000? Well, then they're kind of in a bad position, right? If they're trying to start a business and they don't have at least $1,000, they could do a little bit of bootstrapping and try to pull it together on their own. But there is a cost, even though it's subsidized, there is a cost for the ESP. Again, how much the cost is depends upon the reseller or branch office. With us, it's less than $1,000. Legal free, fast, guaranteed. Due to the grant that our 501c3 receive, we can provide the Entrepreneur Starter Pack for only $999, which is what I stated. Now, again, this would need to be changed for those of you that are marking it up. So they're getting the shelf corp and all the deliverables, which we'll go through in more detail in a moment, and 20,000 of QuickCash for less than $1,000. That is an incredible deal. If they were just getting a shelf corp without the other resources, 1,000 would be a fair price. But the fact that they're literally getting 20,000 of QuickCash makes it a no-brainer. States normally in less than a week from enrollment, we can transfer to you the shelf corp that's in your name and the 20,000 of AR that can be then liquidated to put cash into your bank account. So the quick cash is not a loan, it's not a debt, it's not money that has to be paid back. Let's scroll down. Let me see if there's any questions we need to cover here. Got some questions like from IT about the real estate trade lines. So we work with each client to determine which trade lines they want to add. That's part of the process. We'll get their D&B number. we'll get their DUNS number, and then we'll make sure that their D&B, Dun and Bradstreet profile, is optimized. In other words, just populated, and that doesn't take long, and that didn't cost anything. And then at that point, ITIA will go ahead and start adding trade lines. And with the trade lines, we work with the client. So yes, if they want real estate, fine. Business automobile, fine. Credit cards, lines of credit, what have you. Okay, so continuing on, great question. The ESP provides an affordable and effective solution for entrepreneurs who are looking for a turnkey business ready to apply for business funding within days of enrollment. And that's a true statement. So normally we need about 7 days from the date of enrollment to get them their Shelf Corp deliverables, which again, we're going to go into more detail in a moment. So that's phase one. Then if they want our assistance for funding, then they go into phase two. There's no upfront cost for phase two. There is a refundable deposit to build the loan package. It's $2,500, but that's paid out of the first round of funding, not paid out of pocket. So again, the design of the program is to provide this entire continuum for the average client, the typical client, and their entire out-of-pocket should be less than $1,000. Again, put an asterisk by that in case you're marking it up. So rather than building a fundable business, the Shelf Corp has the key fundability factors already, which we'll go through in a moment. Once you enroll, we'll need about 1 week. So people are going to always ask, if you're one of our resellers, the two main questions you're going to get is how much does it cost and how long does it take? Those are the two main questions. So I hope that we've covered very consistently. It should be a week or less. Take Brandon, who is not on this morning. He's out of California, so he usually doesn't get up this early. Brandon submitted 6 new clients to us. They came in actually on Saturday, and and this is Tuesday morning as of the time we're recording this, and we've already delivered the Shelf Corps already for those 6. So it can vary a little bit because obviously we've got to work with the Secretary of State and getting the corporations processed into their name. Have to work with the IRS and can't do that over the weekend for the EIN. But a week or less, we can get them the deliverables and move forward to funding. So let's go through what's included. And I know we've scratched at the surface, but understanding the specific deliverables is important. Now, the actual agreement contains, line by line, but from a discussion perspective, let's go through this. So for free, we provide them a business entity. So that's that Shelf Corporation. That's that underlying entity. And it is a C Corp. We like to use C Corps for capital raises. We believe it's the preferred model. So no, it's not an LLC. It's not an S Corp. It's a C Corp. Now, we could always make any switches or changes the client wants. And the EIN. So we need to start with the business entity itself. As I've stated before, it's filed in the client's name. So the client is the owner. There's no one else that has rights to the business, and it's in good standing. As I mentioned before, we structure all the Shelf Corps to be SIC code 8742. If the client wants us to change that, we can, but that works really well, and that can be done in conjunction with other services that they may offer. We provide the business plan, which I mentioned earlier, turnkey, ready to go, doesn't take any input from the client because we know these folks are busy and they really want funding. They don't want to spend a lot of time, but we can make the edits they need. It does include for free for the lifetime of the business a unique commercial address. A unique commercial address is an important credibility factor. It's going to affect our ability to get loans and get approved for trade lines and so forth. We provide that. They'll just pay the mail forwarding. Also free are the business financials, the balance sheet, which of course reflects assets and liabilities, and the P&L, also called income statement, which shows revenue and expenses. We provide collateral because, again, as we talked about earlier, not all lenders, but many lenders, many loan types are demanding collateral that in case the borrower does not repay, that the lender can mitigate the risk. So we know that that's important. And that's what you see here. We're putting together the pieces that are necessary to get approved. That's why we can guarantee the funding. And then the 20,000 of QuickCash. And so this is really nice. So in addition to the Shelf Corp, getting them some initial working capital, and this is not a loan, it doesn't have to be paid back. We have a full training on QuickCash on our website. So if you want more detailed training on it, you can go to 509pacific.org, and near the top, there's a training video on QuickCash. So finally, real business, real money, fast. In about a week, you'll receive your Shelf Corp and 20,000 of QuickCash. Then we'll be ready to apply for funding, leveraging your Shelf Corporation, including cash loans and trade lines such as business automobiles. And then, this is a real business. This is like going out and buying, let's say down the street from you is an accounting firm that's for sale. So if you went and bought that accounting firm, then you would own it and you would get the clients, and it's able to make money immediately, right? We don't have to go construct a lot. It's ready. Just change everything into your name, and now you're making money running that accounting firm, as an analogy. Well, this is management consulting, not accounting, but it literally comes ready to start generating bank deposits immediately. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the remaining questions, comments, concerns that you all have. If your question is very individual to you, I don't think this is the right place to address it. Then I would either text us so we could address it one-on-one or even schedule a call. But let me preview the comments, questions here and see what else we can cover before we wrap it up in about 3 minutes. Julian asked, how am I feeling with Zoom? I'm feeling good, Julian. How are you feeling? John had mentioned earlier he's not set up with all the tools and resources as a reseller. So we covered that in training yesterday, but you can go to 509 Pacific to get set up. But John's right. So those of you that have been around, our approach to the ESP reseller model is different. I think it's better, but it's different than the traditional, what we'll call the older or the legacy reseller model. So it is important that you understand it. The way to understand it is simply to go to 509pacific.org. You'll fill out the link, you'll get the packet, review the packet, and it tells you how you get paid and how it works, what we promise, what you promise. So I agree. I think it's a great deal, but you need to understand how it works. I'm giving you the overview, but I encourage you to see the details. All right, let's see here. Michelle's asking about the company vehicle. So again, we don't sell cars, but if what we want is a fundable business, there's kind of the baseline elements, and then we want to have trade lines. There's different types of trade lines. We certainly don't have to get a company vehicle to have trade lines, but a company vehicle is easy to get. It's useful. It's tax deductible. We talked about the accelerated depreciation, and it's probably about the largest fast trade line that anyone could add. So we work with clients. If they already have a personal vehicle, we can move that into the company name and make that a trade line. If they want to trade in their current vehicle and get a business vehicle, that's an option. Or if they just want to add a company vehicle, or if they don't want to do any of it, that's fine. We work with them. The primary vehicle that we see most of our grant participants going after right now are the Escalade ESV V series, and we have a good relationship with a dealer that'll ship those nationally, but it's up to the client. She asked payments. Yeah, so if you get a company vehicle, of course, it's in your company name. It wouldn't show on your personal credit. It would only show on the business credit. You personally don't have to pay for it. The business makes the payments, and the payments will just be normal monthly payments. No surprises. Let's see. IT had asked about the trade line for real estate. We covered that. Yosef's bringing up. Yeah. So again, Our approach to the reseller program for ESP is different. I think it's better, but I do encourage, go through it, see the promises that we make to you, which I've largely covered the promises that you make to us, and just make sure it's a good fit. And you can do all that through the website. Let's see. Uh, John's asking, how soon will the QuickCash be available? Well, as we've attempted to state a couple times, our goal is to have the deliverables to the grant participant in a week or in less than a week. And normally we can hit that. So normally 7 days. And then we should be able to get their first round of cash funding for them within 2 weeks from the time of enrollment. Let's see. Michelle brings up a good point. So we've talked about a couple times, our intent is to make it a very affordable solution for grant participants. So for the average grant participant, I know none of everyone's average, but for the average, the typical participant, to go through the process from beginning to end, their entire out of pocket is designed to be less than $1,000. Now, again, if you're marking it up, then you'd have to change that number. It's less than 2,000 or less than 5,000 for Chris's example. So that's the design, because we're going to be able to go get their first tranche, their first round of funding, get the offers for them normally on day 7, and you then get that funding in their pocket somewhere between days 8 and 10 to 12 normally, certainly within 2 weeks. Kimberly asked about bank accounts, and that's right. So we don't deliver bank accounts, but we provide assistance and the resources to be able to open a business bank account. And Kimberly's exactly right. It is important to have a business bank account. In fact, we're typically not going to be able to get funding if we don't have a business bank account. But I guess that's implied. I know it's not initially stated. It's not something that we provide. We don't provide a bank account, but once we've transferred the Shelf Corp, then we can help the client get the bank account. All right, let's see. Tony asked, on the company vehicles, does it have to be a new vehicle or could it be pre-owned? It can be pre-owned. Let's see here. Alicia asked, how many times can the grant participant get funding? I don't think that there's a limit. We could continue to go after multiple tranches. The model is built where there's 2 tranches. The first tranche, which we're accessing in that 7 to 14 days after enrollment, so they literally have the money in their account by day 14. And then we build out the loan package based upon the larger capital raise goals the client has. We nail down the specific uses of funds in terms of what they want to spend the money on, and then we can go after the larger funding. So by design, it's normally going to be 2 tranches, the initial tranche and then the larger. But Alicia's asking, can they continue to go back for more tranches? And the answer is yes. Joseph's asking about being a reseller and can he earn overrides? And yes, that's built in. We're not MLM or network marketing. So again, the process was described yesterday on training, so you can go view it on our YouTube channel. But the short answer is, Joseph, go to 509pacific.org, get set up as a reseller yourself. You'll have a landing page, which we give away free. And then anyone that comes through your landing page that becomes a reseller, you'll get 5 points override. So they'll get their 5 points of the capital raise as their compensation, and you'll get a 5-point override. So it happens automatically by using this new system. Let's see. Carla asked about the first tranche. So every per grant participant gets funding slash financing from the first tranche. I think some people are worried, well, what if the client's credit's not so good? Well, everyone will get at least one offer from the first tranche. And then when we're going after the larger capital raise, the business funding, the second tranche, it's primarily built off of the business's credibility versus the business owners. And that's why we're adding those trade lines to build up their business credit profile. Drake asked, what if the client comes back a year later and then they want another round? Will the performance fee, the success fee, the 5% still be paid out? So that's a great point. So when clients, so again, we've got two phases, and we'll wrap up after this. Phase one is real simple. It's the client getting the ESP. They're either getting it from us here, or they're getting it from you as a reseller or a branch office. And so that's easy to understand, clear deliverables. But you look at it and say, well, it doesn't talk about funding. That's correct. Funding is phase two. So the first agreement, real easy, 100% compliance, shouldn't be any surprises, no drama. Then we go in, if they want, to phase two. That's where it becomes more individualistic. How much money do they want? What are they going to use it for? And we've had questions, can they continue to access more rounds of capital? Yes. The agreement is written for a 1-year agreement. So if, let's say, 2 years passes and they come back and say, oh, ready for another capital raise, we would do a new agreement with them at that point for the funding portion, because the funding portion is a 1-year agreement. Not that it takes a year, but it's just standard. All right, well, we've covered a lot, so let's wrap it up here. So again, if you're not a reseller and you want to become one, go to 509pacific.org down at the bottom. If you're someone that's looking for funding, either get with one of our resellers, branch offices, or simply go to entrepreneurstarterpack.com. If you need individualized assistance, we recommend texting us at 903-347-8042. If you want more in-depth information, past trainings, that's on YouTube, and you have the ability to schedule. We'll be back tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Thank you for joining us, and let us know how we can assist you. Have a good day.